Hey, good day, friends. This is Bobby here from Sydney, and I'm here once again with episode number 2 of the Girmit Days. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, there were a set of Indians, Indentured Indians, who were brought across to Fiji in the year 1878. And since then till 1916, there were about 60,500 Indians who were brought across to Fiji. And the question that I asked was whether what happened to them. Did they actually reach Fiji or what happened? Now, so I had mentioned it is a day of deprivation as well as sadness, which is being followed by the Fiji Indians. But there's another thing that you have to understand. Like this is a day to celebrate too. Why is it so? Why do you have to celebrate where indentured Indians are brought into Fiji? Because it also is a day to celebrate because it's the birth of the community's identity and the uniqueness as a diaspora. So because they all came together and they lived there, yeah, and they brought out a unique flavor of Indianism combined with the Fiji tradition. All right. So please note that while we are sad about the day this all began, the current Fiji Indians also celebrate this day because of the uniqueness in the community, the unique community that has come out of it as a byproduct of all these things. All right. So before we go to the next one, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a journey, the sea voyage, and the name that you got to understand and listen and remember is Leonidas. Okay, that is the name of the ship on which they all started coming into. It is a ship that was specifically made for transporting the laborers out of India. And I will show you today how the big mighty ships roll over the water, so you can imagine what hardships they felt. It took them about 78 to 79 days to reach the shores of Fiji. All right, so I'm going to lead you through that. But before that, I wanted to ask you, does any one of you know where the word Girmit came from? Girmitiyas, Girmit, all those things. Okay, the meaning of Girmit is agreement. Okay, during that time, all those people, agreement, indentured labor agreement. Okay, indentured labor agreement. Now, when those people came in, what happened was they were not educated that much. Okay, the foreigners would say, the British would say agreement. Okay, so what happens is they couldn't understand, they couldn't pronounce it, they removed the A from it and it started sounding Girmit. Okay, which went to Girmit. Okay, so Girmit. You understand, you get the drift. That is the way how it was a corrupt way of saying agreement and through which Girmit came about to be. As I mentioned earlier, the ships, today's ship, look at the way how it rolls across the big waves that is coming across the Pacific. You know, that is where I wanted to highlight is the things that Indians and the laborers of those days faced while they were transported from the port city of Calcutta to Fiji. On 3rd March 1879, Leonidas SS schooner departed from Calcutta, India with 498 passengers, which were made up of 273 men, 146 women, and 79 children under the age of 12. 463 indentured Indians had arrived into Fiji on board Leonidas SS schooner. On the 3rd of May 1979, Leonidas SS schooner arrived in Sydney, Australia, on board with indentured Indians destined for Fiji from Calcutta in India. 17 passengers died before the ship arrived into Fiji after a journey of some 72 days from India. 15 more passengers died later while in quarantine. In Fiji, in fact, there was no quarantine facilities in Levuka when Leonidas SS schooner arrived on the 14th of May 1879. There is an amazing array of knowledge base out there, and I want you to think about it, that what those indentured Indians experienced while they were in that ship. There was outbreak of disease such as cholera and smallpox, which infected passengers within 3 days of departure from Calcutta in India. Now, the surgeon superintendent and the chief medical officer of the colony of Fiji, Dr. MacGregor, together with government officials, were fearing another outbreak of an epidemic, such as measles, that has wiped out some 40,000 native Fijians in 1875. So they were scared when this first ship arrived. All these people were quarantined. And you know what? In today, during the time of COVID, it is 14 days quarantine. But at that day, they were quarantined for 78 days, separate from the rest of the folks. Also, before we end today's session, I wanted to tell you a story. This is from the word of mouth. So there's this mother who was working in the field and had a child in the stomach. So she was carrying at that moment, and she incidentally, she's from Jaipur, like Thakur family and all those things. So she's there at that time, and she was taken away from there. Okay, so she takes the ship, Leonidas, and or whichever ship it is, she comes over to the shores of Fiji. She delivers a child. Yeah, she marries a Muslim. Okay, all the rest of the children are Muslims, whereas the first child was brought up as a Hindu by the mom, and the dad agreed, and this is way this goes up into that. So just imagine the way how the wives were separated from the husbands. The husbands were separated. They were taken abroad. There was a total disaster in the system when this all occurred. So try to imagine what they lived. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bobby Phillips. I'm signing off with episode 2 today from Sydney, and watch out for my episode 3 coming up very soon. So what do we always say? Be cool. All right. Bye. Leonidas. Okay, so whatever you pronounce, Leonidas. Okay, so that's the name of the ship, Leonidas. Okay, you got to pronounce it. Okay. So today what you got to understand is one name.